I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:36. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Privilege of the floor. Nobody. I would just like to say that I went to the Friends Open House the other day, and I would like to thank Graviport Duo for doing a wonderful job like they do every year. And there was lots of nice treats and goodies for all to be had. So, nice job. For the Friends. Approval of the minutes, meeting of November 8th. Any questions or concerns on those minutes? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of November 8th? I'll make that. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And then the work session minutes on November 22nd. Do I have a motion? Motion. Norma, second. I have, Jim, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Treasurer.
Good evening, everybody. I have the normal report for the month of November 2010, and also I have a packet with the final June 30th 09 audited financial statements and an updated June 30th 2010 financial reports, and some of it comparing 09 to 010 and 010 to the budget. So that's an additional package here. So if you guys want to look it over at your leisure. But for the current reports through the end of November, we're more or less staying where we have been, pretty much on budget, not really under, not really over, pretty much right on. Some areas are slightly over, some are slightly under. And we have, as of November 30th, we have a little over 800,000 in the Orange County money market. Today we moved 100,000 to the key checking, because the key checking was getting low, so we had to move money to fund operations. But we have plenty of cash for the year, because we had gotten our second tax installment in November. I think I mentioned at the last meeting, so we had just gotten it that day or so, the 460,000 in November. So that's why we have pretty much most of our cash in for the year. We'll have one more tax revenue check in March for 10% of the total tax revenue, so another 115,000 or so. So pretty much what we have here is what we got to make it through till March, and there should be plenty here. But more or less, we're running on budget. There's no items really stand out. I don't want to keep repeating what I say each month, but they're all. The last month or so, we made an effort to get caught up on entering the books. Audrey returned to work this past week, actually, and Sally's been helping a little bit too. So we caught up on some of the Baker and Taylor invoices. We still have a little bit more to enter, but we're getting caught up in that area. So if you look on the report, you can see expenses in October and some in November, but we're more or less caught up to November. The loan balance is now down to, on this report it shows 384, but on December 2nd we made the December payment. I think it's down to like 377 and change now, the loan balance. And more or less that's it.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is community development?
Oh, that's Ken.
Oh,
We changed the title from adult program, we separate
okay.
Ken to community development.
Just Ken.
Just
Because we
Ken.
have a line for adult too.
Yeah, Ken used to be mixed in with adult,
Right.
and then a couple months ago we decided to right. So he's broken out separately now. So anything in community, right? Eleanor is mostly the other adult programs. One other point is we got the retirement bill in. We're gonna mail it tomorrow. We caught a break again. It was $33,000. I think we budgeted 41 or 42,000. But they also sent us the projection for the following year for 012, which will be due a year from now, and it's gonna jump to 51,000. So it's gonna go up big time next year. So we caught a break 2 years, last year, the big break, and then this year a little break. But next year it's gonna go up pretty high, which I guess is pretty much no surprise. That sooner or later it was bound to go up. We have a lot more employees now in the retirement system, so I don't know if that is important to it as well.
And that's state derived, we can't touch.
Right,
it.
there's nothing we can do
Something
about that.
The school budget as well.
Right.
If I'm reading this correctly, you're showing the fixed assets, now you're showing this building and the land as assets.
Right,
Right.
that has been added, I should mention that as well, since the last meeting. I think that had come up at other meetings too, that the auditors decided they wanted to put the full value of our assets on there, and then the depreciation is a little below it. And also the land got bumped up to 675, because they included the acquisition costs into the land. Because it had been 600, I guess the 75 was the fees that should be included as part of the basis for the value of the land. So that changed slightly too. So it's a more complete, more accurate report.
That's good, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Jim? Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's? Jim, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ellen? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Director's report.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, Audrey's finally back. She was out of work. I'm not even sure how long she was out of work this time.
Two and a half months, something.
So we've had to make some adjustments. She is back. She was 28 hours a pay period previously, but we cut her down to 18. Gave the 10 to another, kind of business-trained clerks. See how that works. For a variety of reasons, but it seems to be working out so far.
Yes,
She's
definitely.
got us caught up. We kind of had we were definitely backed up a little there because she did the personnel stuff as well as some of Jack's assistants. So this seems to be working out for the time being, and we're just going to monitor it and see how things go. The winter newsletter is almost out. Again, we seem to be honing down the process a little. I'm still waiting just for a couple of elements from the friends, if anything they might want to add, and some of Ken's dates for his upcoming play series on Paul Robeson and the second thing, and the trivia night. So once that's in, it's going to go to print. Some unfortunate news we received from Konica. They are no longer able to supply us with the free brochure printing that they did for so long. Because, that's not our newsletter. That was always done through a printer. So that's just the odds and ends. But it was helpful, and it was great that they could do it as long as they could. Apparently the news is that they used to make the toner there at that plant, and now they don't. So now it costs them more than it did. So it's not just us; it's everybody in Goshen that relied on that service. But maybe who knows? And on a related note, actually, our printer, our microfilm printer gave up the ghost. And it occurred to me today, I think we've gone to Minolta before. It's probably not the best time to do so, but I'm going to approach them one more time and see if maybe they would help us out with getting replacement. Maybe they could, we could make some kind of an arrangement. Because I was just looking online today, and they're one of the bigger makers of those products. So even if they have one around that's not brand new, and we'll see. For the time being, though,
It's hard to imagine that they're not making the toner there, because I had a tour of that building once, and they have a piece of equipment that is the size of a couple of freight
Right.
cars or larger, just this huge thing. One guy at a computer panel just working all the buttons. And
this is just of last week,
and
but
that, it's like a $20-30 million
Okay.
piece of equipment sitting there, and to not use that, I think it's hard to
Right.
believe.
But as far as for the time being, I think Jim knows this already. We're going to start to have the microfilm made alongside a CD copy, so you don't necessarily need a microfilm reader to actually access the contents of the papers. But in the long run, it'd be nice to have a machine again. We can somehow swing it.
you're talking about there's no microfilm reader,
Right.
you know. The Friends are trying to get a newspaper, an indie from 1911, and reproduce it as part of the 100-year celebration. And there's no reader here to read the old film. And I went to the Orange County Community College, and they have, I think it's 3 readers that are out that students can use, and there's one that's in the back that staff uses that's in better shape because it gets used less.
Right.
But then I heard, and maybe you saw it, that the Genealogical Society has one.
I think Ann went over and looked at it, and it had a similar problem to ours. You can view, but you can't reproduce.
Oh, okay.
It has something wrong with
All right, then you have to use the one at the college.
Right.
The one at the college you can print.
Okay, I think that's what happens on a lot of them, because parts that go in it, ones that have to do with the fusing and but we did have someone from Advanced Microfilm come in and look at it. He's fixed it a few times in the past, but this time he said it was beyond me. It was not worth having a repairman from the company come, because it wouldn't be fixable. But let's see what else we have here. Well, Jim mentioned already, there is a series of programs that the Friends are in the process of sort of think tank process. A couple of them already are out there. They're going to do various programs related to this library going from a subscription library to a public library, which was, I did some research myself in 1 minute, which was 100 years ago. So it should be interesting. We're looking through Ann's looking through the papers and pulling up some stuff in the papers and some photographs, period photographs that we might be able to actually sell at some of our events and recoup some of the cost of actually printing the stuff out. So it should be interesting.
Just to make a quick summary of what's going to happen, the Goshen Trivia Contest is going to be held on March 5th, Saturday night. I think they ended up at the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And basically there are going to be 6 or 7 teams of people answering questions about Goshen, its history, and every team has to have someone who's at least less than 10 years in town, someone who's, quote, relatively new. They can't load it up with the Wallace family.
Right.
Anyway, that's been done before with Orange County history, and apparently it's lots of fun. And then the indie, the plan is not simply to make one copy, but to actually enable people to buy a copy of the indie from 1911 and reproduce it. And we think people will enjoy having that in their homes. Also a writing contest, primarily children. And some of the topics that were suggested were things like a night in the library, sort of like in the museum, that idea. Just trying to get something that a kid might enjoy writing about that's connected to the library. And we're talking about a time capsule and putting things from this year in the capsule to be over in 50 years. And then the band concert next year would have music from that early 1900s time frame. So the band has agreed to that. I
Yep.
understand.
Yeah. I think that they're playing gratis, so that's nice.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, wait, no, this is the jazz, the first jazz player. That's for,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
using mine.
Yeah, that's September.
Okay.
That's something
Okay.
else.
This is gonna be the same band you guys had out here for the big band?
Yes, a big
Okay.
band.
So that should be nice.
Willie the Lion Smith, that's the
Mhm.
guy, right?
Right.
I just read Billy Crystal's really funny book called 700 Sundays, and he was closely associated with Willie the Lion Smith because his father was into jazz, and Willie the Lion Smith was at his house many times. And I think, as crazy as it may sound, it might be possible to get Billy Crystal to come here and talk about Willie the Lion Smith when he hears about this festival.
We have to ask if
Yeah.
The other thing, as you know, we have, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name, Mr. Buckalter here tonight.
Yeah.
He'll pick up on this in a few minutes. We have the appraisal finished for the building up here, Grand Street. We are ongoing discussions about space needs. Norm, I haven't forgotten, we're talking about it. It's funny because I had brought it up to Ann about her local history collection, and she produced for me one of several volumes of loose leaf notebooks, big, filled with information archived from 1993 until the last building referendum went down. Some of that information is on Space Needs. Some of it's useful, some of it won't be. But it's sort of interesting to look at. It's a little bit of a Twilight Zone feel. You see some of the same arguments kind of surface and disappear, as you can imagine. But I think I'm glad that she was able to lay hands on it. I knew we had something like that because she was keeping this. She kept a record of all of the op-ed pieces, editorials. It's all in there, and so some of that's definitely still useful. We did a lot of work, a lot of measuring, just to determine what you needed then. So I can't imagine it would change too much. Let's see. Architect submitted the preliminary proposal, as should be in your packets, for his site selection services. The auditors gave us a clean report again. I was relieved. I didn't think there was any reason why not, but they always sort of put you through the ringer. And the library passed the fire inspection, which was good news. And we will be having a staff party next Friday if anyone would like to attend. Carol, did you want to pick up on that?
I know that the board was very generous last year in their contributions towards the staff's Christmas party. I'd like to let you know that it was much appreciated then, and if you'd like to contribute again this year, we'd be most grateful. You can always let me know if you have, yes, anything like that. It'll be Friday morning from 9 to 10.
This Friday?
We'd love to have you come, yes.
The 17th,
Mhm.
yeah.
We often do have board groups represented at our Christmas party,
You're
so
talking 9
feel free,
AM
9 to
or
10.
PM?
9 a.m.
AM.
Before the library opens.
Before the library opens, and we have,
It's a wild time.
yes, a wild time will be had by all.
What's in the coffee at that time?
You bring your own thing.
We can talk more after the meeting if you like.
Oh, I don't want to end up on a low note here, but a tank of our toilet upstairs cracked and had the whole thing had to be replaced.
Say vandalism.
Why do you
That's-
say that?
Well,
Is there footprint on it?
it was odd, with the tank on the back, down in the bottom corner. It's just, and it's not that old. I mean, unfortunately, it's not under warranty or anything, but it was just broken off. I mean, sort of, it was clinging there, but it wasn't just a hairline crack. It was leaking. It was sort of, it looked as if someone hit it with a tool or something. No idea. I mean, it was odd. I mean, I don't know much about plumbing. Maybe this is a common. Maybe there's even a name for it, for all I know. Crack tank. I don't know.
Syndrome.
I don't know.
It's called the saboteur.
Yeah.
Cloud that continually hangs over the library.
No, I promoted for it's not one thing, it's not voodoo. But I think,
Plumber rage.
unless there's any questions.
Anything from Matt?
The putting of the books into genres, it's amazing.
Yeah.
How people, just explosion of interest when you do that.
Yeah, definitely.
It shows you, I guess most people are more comfortable walking up to a shelf and knowing everything I'm seeing is a mystery.
Right.
Everything I'm seeing is in there, than to go searching.
Now, I'm not suggesting this, but some libraries have gone so far, the whole Albany library system, and Pauline had thought about it for a while, of just giving up the Dewey Decimal System. And again, I'm not going that far, but where they just do it by, this is gardening, this is cooking, this is, I know, I feel like,
Set it up like a bookstore.
right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, right, that's exactly, they don't
So-
use the Dewey Decimal.
That's right.
But for
And
for
what's
fiction,
wrong
it
with
works
that?
well.
Bookstore?
No.
Dewey Decimal.
The
No.
Dewey Decimal.
The bookstore. It sounds like it's the direction we should.
Well, I think that's the way people used to
Yeah.
look at
We
the
do a
books.
hybrid.
Yeah, they're trained in a sense.
I took library science in high school, but I don't know anybody else who did. And it was required in freshman year of high school, believe it or not. We had to learn the Dewey Decimal System, not that I remember any of it now, but who uses it? We had to do the card.
We do.
But
Right,
the bigger the
Everybody
library,
on the cards. Yeah, you had to learn the card file, right, which is
I
pointless.
think 800 there goes Mayberry.
Yeah, right, thank you. But, yeah,
Selling
nobody
out to
does
the
that
man.
anymore.
The more Mayberry. And all the good old days are gone.
well, just as an aside, I'll make it quick because I know we have a guest here, but Melville Dew was famous for that, and one other thing, and I saw one of his books actually in a used bookstore somewhere in Maine. He was in the process of developing I don't know what I'm sure there's a name for it, just like the broken toilet, but a new way of using the English language that was totally phonetic. So when you look at his books, you know, his name, you know, his whether, I mean, I don't know, Dewey is not D-E-W-E-Y, it'll just be D-E-W-Y, you know, he just cuts out all of, any, you know, any unpronounced letters dropped. So he had this whole
I
sort
think
of
they
system.
call it Ebonics.
No,
No,
It didn't work. No, this was
Well,
his
yeah,
own,
English
his own,
language is
his
crazy.
own.
Well, they used to
You
have,
Called
what
shorthand.
was it called, when the kids had a different alphabet, there were 42 letters, there was an English system that was in vogue, I'm gonna say around in the late
Big
60s,
Latin?
early 70s, no, no. And we came from England, there were
Yeah.
42 letters, and this is how I remember our son Jimmy, when he went to school,
You mean M-E-J?
and words were, if anyone, as soon as you learned those 42 letters, you could read, because you had decoded the language. Then when they got to the second or third grade, then they made the transition to regular.
Sounds like anthropology uses a similar expanded language to tell different shapes of the tongue as you're saying things, and that way you, similar, where you can reproduce any spoken word, and their ear is more tuned to those extra letters for that same reason. So they can
It really is a
make
much more
noise.
logical system. It would solve the reading problem in our country, if people learning how to read, because it is a strange, you know, S's and C's and K's and all these different things that.
Nothing wrong with K.
K's are fine, just the C.
Catherine-
They can't
Kids are
decide.
very important.
Catherine with a K or Catherine with a C? Anyway.
So it's,
We're done with Matt?
Yes.
are we done with you?
We need to move into executive session for the discussion of financial matters with Mr. Buckhalter. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, Bill.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make that one.
And we're gonna come back out, David, just so you know, we're gonna go in and then come back out to finish the rest of the agenda, so we'll need it to be televised.
The subject is related to the purchase of land, so it's one of the permissible reasons for going into executive session.
So do I have a motion? Ellen, do I have a second? Jim, thank you. So at 7:59, we're entering into executive session.